You already know what it is, Mang. We out here in Japan. Today I'm doing a week 2 update for what I've been doing this past week, all while eating my Japanese breakfast. So it's gonna be like a mukbang style. This breakfast is served by the place I'm staying, which is called Toyoko Inn. I believe it's a chain. This one is the one near Mishima Station, and breakfast is included every morning from 6:30 to 9 in the morning. Itadakimasu. Basically last week when I finished up doing the Kiriko and the Skytree hangout with my friends, I headed down to Yokohama, actually a little bit south of Yokohama, because the next day I was going to be doing a road trip down to Izu Peninsula. So the station that I got off at was right near this restaurant called Coco's, which is like a curry place. So normally in the States, if it was out of 3 spice levels, I would get spice level number 2. Like halfway is what I thought the spice level should be. So they do their spice level out of 10. You can actually customize a bunch of things. Like you can customize spice level and how much rice. And I basically did 5 because I was like halfway. So 5 out of 10 spice. And it was so hot that I could barely even eat like half of it. I've heard people say they can't find spicy food in Japan, but I'm like, I just don't think you've been looking hard enough, because all the spicy food that I found has been so spicy. So basically just kind of turned in a little bit early that night and then got started on the road trip the next day. I will say it does seem a lot kind of more flexible to have a car in Japan, even though you're driving on the left side of the street. All the signs are going to be in Japanese, so I feel like the idea of driving was intimidating at first, especially because the trains and buses are so good. That being said, to get to some places, or just for ease of planning your own schedule and not having to plan around the timetables of the public transit, I do think that if I was here long term, I would want to look into either getting a moped or my driver's license. But basically the drive down was pretty scenic. We were pretty lucky. We got to see Mount Fuji on the way down. It kind of depends usually on like the clouds and the weather, but the weather was actually really good. You know, there's definitely spots of sun and I haven't gotten rained on too much. So the first stop on the road trip was actually kind of like a pit stop. It was just like a scenic little area where there was this bridge covered in vines and we were just out in the countryside. There's a river that goes through Izu Peninsula. It was so nice and scenic. So this morning we were technically headed straight to Kawazu 7 Waterfalls. Oh, also on the drive there's this really twisty, like literal spiral staircase, but for the highway. That was really weird. And if you get motion sick, you're kind of like pressed against the side of the car as you go around in circles. I didn't know this, but Kawazu Falls, one of the 7, has an onsen right in front, and you would wear your bathing suit because it's like out in the public, everyone can see you. But yeah, so there's 7 waterfalls all kind of sprinkled around this little walking area. So you can park your car and then you can go to the different waterfalls. The signs are pretty clearly marked, and there's like 4 suspension bridges, and there's this little area called like the Wishing Rock, and there's actually 2 rocks. Through all the weathering and the water runoff and stuff, these rocks have been there for a really long time. So you pay 100 yen, I think, to get these 3 rocks, and you try to throw the rock so that it lands on top of the wishing rock. If your stone lands on the wishing rock, then allegedly your wish will come true. And if your wish comes true, you're supposed to come back later on and pray again to the rock spirit, I think, who helped you get that wish to come true. So I did that, and I have pretty terrible aim, so I wished for something pretty unrealistic, and yeah, you guessed it, I did not make it. But that's pretty cool. And then the suspension bridges are all cool. The waterfalls are all really cool. There actually weren't really like a lot of bugs, which I was surprised by. So the very last waterfall going up that way, you can actually walk all the way up these stairs, and then you're like on top of the waterfall, and apparently there's another car park up there, so you could park either up there or down closer to Kawazu Waterfalls. So if I were to do the falls again, I would probably 1, bring a bathing suit, and 2, I would do those falls all first and do Kawazu last, just because I feel like the whole entire length of all those other falls is the same amount as just the start to end of Kawazu Kawazu Falls, because for Kawazu Falls specifically, there's like an entrance time. It's not always open, but you go down like a ton of stairs, and at the bottom is this onsen and the waterfalls looking over. But then obviously you have to walk all the way back up. So I feel like that's a nice little area to end it because it's a lot of walking and you can also be like well rested and relaxed after chilling in the onsen. So after we finished up that waterfall walk, it was time to eat. Basically, restaurants were starting to open. There's really only 2 restaurants around there, I think, but the local specialty is wasabi, which I did not know, like American Western wasabi is different than the real wasabi. So American wasabi is made from horseradish and real wasabi is actually a root. I did not know that, but basically they give you the root and you grind it yourself. So I got wasabi soba. So the soba itself was green and I believe it was infused with wasabi, and then you grind your own wasabi and put more in. And the dipping sauce that I got is like, the English translation is cold yam, but basically it's like this like gooey yam, I guess, and you mix it in to the dipping sauce. Normally the dipping sauce is like almost like a light soy sauce-ish base, but yeah, this stuff kind of makes it gooey, and I've had it before with my other friends in Chofu, and yeah, I do like it, but I think it's kind of like an acquired taste. So after we finished up in that little area, we continued down the east coast. Kawazu is in the middle. We went to Shirahama Beach, which is a famous beach, mostly famous for its red shrine right by the water. The red torii gates, actually. I don't know if it's technically a shrine. Yeah, fun fact about these gates is like they're for the spirits to pass through. So you're not supposed to walk directly through the middle because that's where the spirits go. You're supposed to go like kind of on the side to let them walk by. That was really scenic, and I did not know that's actually a surfing beach. There were so many people surfing, so we ended up spending a ton of time just like sitting there chilling, watching people surf. And I'm a surfer, so that's like really great for me to know. We paid, I think, 1,000 yen, which is like $10. Well, actually it's probably now more like $8 with the conversion rate. And along the beach there's a bunch of little cute little restaurants and surfing places, so it's definitely like a cute little surf area. Then after that I was staying in a guest house called Kei's House Ito Onsen. So it's up in the town of Ito, which is up the eastern coast. So I wanted to make sure that I could check in before 9 or they'll lock the doors and you're like, you can't check in anymore that day. But I check in, drop off my stuff, and then head out to the west coast. There's a lot of little famous areas on the west coast specifically to watch the sunset. However, technically if you want to go see the sunset's everywhere in the world, so it doesn't really matter. So I think a lot of the more famous scenic ones are like the southwest coast, but pretty much if you just cut straight across, one of the closest ones is called Lover's Point, I think, which to me, I'm like, that sounds like a lovers leaping to their death kind of situation. But unclear if that is the case for this spot or not. It is the sister place to this other Lover's Point, in which there were 2 lovers that leaped to their demise together. This one, unclear though. There were a lot of little points, you know, if we drove a little up or a little down, there would have been a ton of places to look at the sunset from where we were. And we lucked out that it wasn't bad weather or anything, so we could actually see the sun. And you park your car at the parking lot and you do have to walk, I think it was quite a little hike, down to the sunset viewing area. But there's like this cool little circle outlook thing and this bell. I think there was like meaning behind these bells and stuff. Like I think you're supposed to put money down. There was like this little yen heart and ring the bell or something, and that's supposed to be like for love if you're into that. So I didn't do any of that, but there's all these cute things if you're like on a cutesy dootsy little thing. Anyway, it was cute. There was like this little girl, this Japanese girl, and she was like, she reminded me of Boo from the Monsters Inc. movies, because she would just like run around and like just like scream out of nowhere. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, I will say, because of the long sort of literally hike down to the viewing area, as soon as the sun set, like for me, I was like, I want to just book it out of here, because if it gets dark and I have to walk through this like little forested area, I was like, this is like a murder mystery thing, because there's like this little shack that, I don't know, it's kind of like weird, creepy. So I was like booking it out of there. So then got home that night. I was staying in a mixed dorm And it was unfortunate because it was 3 men and they were snoring and coughing, and it was just like, yeah, I had to do earplugs and then my Beats headphones, and I was like, this is just so loud. So I switched to a all-female dorm the next day, and there was no one there, so it was like nice and private. Yeah, this guest house was really nice. There's like a really actually kind of extensive kitchen area. It's next to this really old historic ryokan, Tokaikan, I think. It's right on the river, so this like public seating area where you can eat all your meals. It's like literally overlooking the river, and then both the rooms I stayed in on the 2nd and 3rd floor also overlook the river. So it's just so beautiful. I went to the onsen that night for the first time. There's a public onsen as well as private onsen on every floor. So I went to the public onsen and there was no one there, and it was just so nice and lovely. And I think part of the reason that I developed such a nice relationship with this guest house is because I did stay there for 4 nights, so I kind of like became like kind of a home base. I think that's the longest I've stayed anywhere so far. But basically the next morning I woke up and started to explore the little town area. It's not a big town at all, but I went to find one of the local convenience stores, 7-Eleven, and I just bought food for like not quite every day, but like for many of my next meals. I bought a loaf of bread, 6 pieces of bread. I guess not quite a loaf, but their bread be mad thick here. Yeah, they have complimentary jams, 3 kinds, blueberry, strawberry, and orange, I think. So yeah, I was like, oh, I can use the toaster and the jam for breakfast. They also had complimentary tea, so yeah, I got some fruits and just like a bunch of things to make random meals at the house. I didn't actually do any cooking. They do have tools to do cooking, but they have like really nice dishes and cutlery, so I'd always like display my meals all cutely, even though it was all convenience store meals. So after I checked the weather forecast is basically when I realized that the forecast would be pretty bad for the next couple days. Like it would be pretty rainy. So that morning / afternoon was supposed to be the last day that was like nice weather. So even though I was super tired from the previous day, I decided to do some adventuring even though I was pretty tired. So I went to the Jogasaki coast, which is one of the scenic areas closest to Ito. You can take a bus or the train, but if you take either, you still have to walk like 20 minutes from the nearest station or stop in the case of the bus. But the Jogasaki coast is famous mostly for this suspension bridge and this lighthouse. The lighthouse, normally I think you can go up it, but it was closed when I went. But you have really good views to see like surrounding islands. It's just like a rugged coast. It's all kind of like volcanic formed stuff, and then navigating and stuff, like to go back, I was like, you know, I don't really want to go back to the station because it was like a 30-minute downhill walk through this residential area. So I was like, if I go back that way, I'll be walking uphill for 30 minutes. I was like, okay, maybe I'll take the bus. And I ended up kind of overshooting everything. There's like this, I think 9-kilometer walk along the coast, the Jogasaki coast. It's like a hiking trail. So I was like, okay, if I just start walking, I'll eventually get back to a different train station or stop. And it just was like a lot of walking. That day was also a lot. Even though it was supposed to be kind of a rest day for me, I ended up doing a ton of walking, uphill walking. I feel like because I'm like young and not completely out of shape, it's not that bad. But for a lot of people, if you're not in great shape or you're older, or I mean, not to say that if you're older you're out of shape, but all these things where I feel like if I had planned it out a little better, it would be more accessible to most people. That evening when I came home, I tried out the private bath for the first time, and both of the baths have shampoo, body wash, conditioner, which is really nice because not all onsen have that. Because it was kind of rainy, like the next couple days were just really just chilling. I kind of have been going like go since I left America, so it was nice to have like chill time in this guest house. And I think that's why I was saying this place became so comfortable for me, because it's really big, first of all, so there's all like these little nooks and crannies you can go into. I was probably lucky that I was there during the week and that there weren't so many people, because definitely if it was crowded it wouldn't have been the same experience for sure. But the public area has all these little rooms, and you can even close the door in at least one of them, so even though you're in public you kind of have privacy, and even can go out, like open the doors to the outside little part that overlooks the river, so there's even there. And generally I think Ito is like a smaller, quieter town, even though it is technically an onsen town. Because I was staying for 4 nights also, they gave me a laundry voucher, which normally laundry is 500 yen, to do. I was kind of just like chilling, settling in, eating konbini meals, and just generally enjoying the scenery. They did offer English classes for free, not directly through them, but through like the Ito Association every Monday and Thursday in the morning and afternoon. And I originally wanted to do that, but after like going, I was like, I just want to chill. Literally didn't leave the guest house, I don't think, except to maybe go to 7-Eleven. I had a really nice time just like chilling. My last day there, I decided to do a little more exploring because there was nice weather again. So I went up to Ito Marine Town, which you can walk to from my guest house. It probably was about 15 to 30 minutes. Oh, also I was like, I know I've been relaxing in the onsen and stuff, but I want to try to find some of the free foot baths and stuff because that's been like one of my fun projects every onsen town. So there's like 2 main foot baths. One is right near the guest house, like 5-minute walk, and then the other one is up at Ito Marine Town. And that one is nice because it's like really long and it's right on the water. So Ito Marine Town is this colorful building area. It's not very long at all, maybe like 500 meters. I don't know, but it's like 10 shops in a row about. And there's like the scenic pleasure boat, which is shaped like a whale. You could take that to go like on a sightseeing tour. And then the ocean bazaar, I've never known how to say that word, but they have a ton of cute little shops and like local sweets and goodies, souvenirs. There's some cutesy dootsy photo spots there. And yeah, that was a nice little walk because I could, you know, hang out at the foot bath after, but you also get a really nice view of some of the other parts of Ito, like where I was staying. I could see from Marine Town. It's like this little bay. So after I came back from Jogasaki Coast as well, you get off at Ito Station, and right near Ito Station is Ito Park. So allegedly that has like a nice little viewing platform for like sunrise or sunset. So I just went up there and it has a good little view of the city, but it was cloudy, so I didn't really stay for long. That's a cute little place to explore as well within Ito. There's also Orange Beach, which I actually walked to on the way to the station before Jogasaki Coast, but it's just a beach closest to the town of Ito, or within the town of Ito. The sand is like black. I don't know if it's actually real sand because it's like, it seems like a construction beach almost, like they man-made the sand or something out of like pebbles or some kind of black stone, I think. But people do swim there and it is like a swimming friendly beach. It has palm trees in comparison to Shirahama, for example. Shirahama has white sand, very fine white sand, and so the water looks really clear and tropical sort of because the sand is so white. And then Orange Beach, because the sand is black, it makes the water look darker. So I didn't swim in it, but I did put my feet in it, and it is like a cute little beach. If you are in the area, you can hang out there. So on the way back from Marine Town, I started to see a bunch of these other local specialty things. So of course Ito is a seaside town, so one of their specialties is like these dry fish sort of, and they display it in a really specific way, and a lot of times there's cats hanging out around. It's so cute. I didn't get to try any of that, but next time I come back I will try all that stuff. Also, there's a ton of restaurants all along Orange Beach and just like the ocean side. But again, I literally don't think I ate any restaurant meals in this town. I just ate konbini food. So then after I checked out, I started to get to talking with one of the girl who helped me check out. Her name is Kinue. She was very helpful and really nice. She spoke great English, and I decided I would just kind of like kill some time because I had booked a bus up to Kawazu, which is the lake near Mount Fuji, one of the 5 lakes near Mount Fuji, which was my next destination.